what are your thoughts on OnlyFans, sex work, and do you believe that a woman doing OnlyFans or porn might have an impact on her future romantic prospects? And if so, how and why? I can repeat any. That was a lot, so let me know if you need me to repeat anything.
I talk about this extensively on my show. I mean, the truth is that if you are going to engage in sex work, you are going to probably make a lot of money, especially if you're young. You're on a very tight rope. As you get older, your value goes down, and men are going to want women that are younger and available to them. I'm talking about in terms of just making the person who will subscribe to your OnlyFans page. You know, obviously, women, you're declining as you age. And the truth is that high-value men don't want to date women that are sex workers or even women that aren't sex workers and lean into the whole talking about how sexy and are freely available on the internet for other men to see. What we're talking about is biological proclivity. What men are doing when they first say, this sounds amazing, to date a stripper or to date a prostitute or to date a sex worker, is there's this instinct to have sex. It's going to be amazing. I'm going to have sex all the time. But then when they realize that actually a form of wanting to be in a relationship is feeling that there's a mystery to a woman, that there's something that's yours, there's something that's sacred, there's something that's powerful and beautiful that just you share. And when they realize that they have to share that with other men, it completely diminishes the man. A recent cultural example of that, obviously, is what's happening with Nina Agdal. She's not a sex worker by any means. She just kind of said some sexy things on the internet about wanting cock, and look at what...
Was not expecting that from Candace.
I'm quoting her directly, so this is purely academic. Purely academic, and look at what happened. You know, now Logan has become the laughing stock of other men as they piece together everything that she's ever said that's overtly sexual. And again, she's not a sex worker, but what happened is her value just completely plummeted because, they're this thing that men need to feel. And I don't want to say possession in a way that sounds bad, because it's not bad. It's actually really beautiful. And I'm lucky and fortunate that I get to experience that in my marriage, and it's something that women should strive toward. Women that make those exchanges in their youth, I think that's sad, and I do feel bad for Nina Agdal, is because she said a lot of those statements when she was really young. She's probably your age. And she had a camera, and she said it, and it lives forever. And now every man that she dates is going to say Dylan Danis has made her available to everyone. And I hope things work out between her and Logan, but if you don't think that that's going to impact Logan, or that's not actively impacting him as a man, it is. So with women, it's a trade-off. First thing you said was, I make money. This is about money. It's about money, but when it comes down to marrying these women, men just don't want it.
And that's exactly why I said that in this industry, I'm single until I retire.
But it will still matter.
I don't plan on doing this or getting married or finding the love of my life until I retire, like truthfully. And then after
I hope
that,
that you see what happens to Nina Agdal.
No. And then after that, I will be honest and truthful with the person that I will be getting married to or whatever. And it'll be up to him to accept that. Right. So,
I'm just saying that men's natural proclivity is to not accept that because it brings them shame. Men are biologically proud creatures.
I understand, but not everybody can be like that.
No, I know. I'm not. I'm just telling you what is happening and why people are. I'm just talking about cultural events, the Nina Agdal thing, and if you look at people like Emily Ratajkowski, she's obviously hot, but this is a woman who's now trying to make divorce chic, and I think that the understanding is in Hollywood is, sleep with her and move on. She's not marriage material. Her husband, when he had her, cheated on her because they didn't have that thing. I feel like I've slept with the girl. I've seen her naked so many times, right? So there's nothing special about Sebastian Baer marrying her because we've all seen her naked. There's nothing sacred in that relationship. And I'm just speaking on telling you, this is why women struggle to get married when they've made themselves available on OnlyFans, because other men don't want to share. They don't want to share their wife. They maybe will share their girlfriend. They might think it's fun to date a stripper for a little bit. They might think, oh, this means I'm going to have sex 12 times a day. But then when it gets down to just their biological instinct, it's actually quite embarrassing for them as a man, because they can look up your girl and here she is, So that's what I think is happening.
Yeah, I'm just curious about your opinion on this, because I've seen like a couple of people in like Red Pill Spaces, like Pates or people similar to that, talking about how they should marry a young woman. Would you agree or disagree that might not be the most like rational course of action?
To marry a young woman? What do you mean by
Yes. That I hear a lot of men talk about how a woman inherently loses value as she gets older, and that's why that they should seek out young women.
Well, I live in the South, and a lot of people get married young, and I think it's really beautiful and wonderful. They preserve this sort of innocence. I have people that work for me that want to get married at 22. They drop out of school. So I don't think there's anything wrong with marrying when you're young. I'd have to see the full context of what they're talking about, because I do think, obviously, the longer you wait, and especially in this society that's creating this simulation that sexuality equates to freedom when it doesn't, that what he might be suggesting is that the longer a woman runs free, the more partners that she's gathering, and her worth is being diminished. And I think that there is some veracity to that. But, you know, if it's said in a way that sounds a little crass, like seek out younger women because they're not as used, and I can see why people would be offended by it, but that might be underpinned by a little bit of logic. So I'd have to see the clip in its entirety.
Yeah, the reason why I'm asking is because in general, I think men do have a biological proclivity. I can't pronounce that
Proclivity.
word. Proclivity. You know, to seek out like youth and beauty. But I also think when it comes to like settle down, you want a mother who's going to be responsible and good towards her children.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the idea that like men seek out beauty is true, but I also think men seek out a level of like responsibility and maturity that only comes with age. So I was just curious because of the other stuff I've heard from people.
And also, it's like sex is just sex. Like, it's just sex. And
Just
when
what do
you have a
mean by that?
partner, you have an emotional connection with them. And so, like, the guy on your last podcast, he was on here a few days ago, he was saying how, like, for men, sex is just sex. But, like, spending time with a woman and, like, buying her things and, like, going on trips with her is, like, different than having sex with just random people. And that's why they were, like, in an open relationship or whatever.
Can I just have you scoot your mic that way
This
a little
way?
bit? Yeah, perfect.
I mean,
But
I
yeah.
definitely wouldn't say that like swapping DNA is like just sex. I mean, a man leaves a piece of himself inside of you.
But man, that's the way they think. And like for women, we get attached to them emotionally,
Right.
having sex with them.
Which
but
is why
they get
it's
attached.
more of a, when women have a lot of partners, it is different. It is worse in a way, and people don't want to admit that. But because we are more emotional, there is an attachment. It isn't just sex for women. You know, I think women are damaged by those relationships. Women like to think, because of the social simulation, that it can just be sex, it's whatever. Non-committal, the only people that benefit from that lie are men. You know, it is not great to have sex and have a man not call you back. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't matter if a BuzzFeed article says it does. I had a wonderful weekend and this is why I had sex and didn't worry about it. You feel used, and especially I would say if you're not a sex worker and a man does that and never calls you back, and you don't even have money to show for it, I think it diminishes your self-worth even more than your worth to a man.
The reason why I say sex is just sex is because in our line of work, we see it as transactional, right? Especially when we're working. And then at the end of the day, they go home to their wives or whatever, right? And it's like you're emotionally being there for them and taking care of them and doing all this, that, or the other.
So then sex clearly isn't just sex. It's also emotional.
It can be.
Yes.
It can be, yes. But I was saying, according to the guy that he had on the last podcast, he said that for men, sex is just sex.
Well,
And that
I disagree with the idea that sex doesn't harm, or casual sex wouldn't harm a man or does harm women, or that sex is just sex. I think a lot of people tell themselves that, but I think it can like lead to a lifestyle of just like pure hedonism, whether you're like a man or a woman, and that can be like dangerous because then you're losing, you know, sight of other things that you value or other aspects of life. So I don't really think like I think for some people that can be true, but I think for the majority of people, like there's a reason why a lot of people are only into monogamy, or why that's been like the norm for a lot of cultures. And I think most people are a little bit hardwired to kind of seek out those intimate relationships. And I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying I think that's how most people are, where casual sex can be harmful.
And I think it can definitely be harmful for men. I want to be clear. I'm saying that it's different for men and it's different for women, but I don't agree with the statement sex is sex. It's just sex at all.
And it's natural to be like attracted to a lot of different people. You know what I mean? So it's like,
But that comes with self-control. I think
Well, yeah.
attraction is one thing, and acting on those needs or wants
by sleeping with multiple people. I don't understand that.
Did you want to come in on
I
this?
guess I don't. What do you mean?
Like,
You
I
don't
don't
understand
not
why
in
would
response
you?
to her, but
Okay.
just the
In general?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't necessarily agree with the idea that sex is just sex. When I was younger, I definitely had a lot more, like casual sexual relationships, not one night stands or anything by that measure, more like situationship. And as I got older, my views on it kind of changed, and you do feel differently when, like you were saying, it doesn't feel good to hook up with somebody and not have them call you back. So I actually was celibate for about 2 years before I met my partner, doing OnlyFans and everything else.
Your
I
current
wasn't-
partner?
Yes.
Okay.
I wasn't sleeping with anybody. I stuck to it very hard because I just didn't really like the feeling of sleeping with somebody and then getting an emotional attachment to them. So I think that certain people, because everybody is different, I don't think that it's that black and white. But I think to some people and to some women and to some men, casual sex really is just sex, whether they're leaving DNA or not. I think that there are people that do actually feel that way because I've met women that are like that. But for me, it is not that simple. And I don't think that it's that simple for most women.